This one might get me in a little bit of verbal trouble. In fact, some may even see what I'm doing as victim blaming. Nevertheless, as a rideshare driver, whether you're driving for Uber or Lyft, some things simply are worth questioning. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim with another ride sharing video. Now, this comes to you out of Oregon. This was about a driver that was charged with a Class C felony against a woman. However, I'm going to propose some questions and see how you guys, particularly my veteran drivers, view it, because everything ain't always what it seems. Comes from an article titled, Bend Police Arrest Uber Driver from La Pine on Kidnap Charge. Allegedly canceled ride, drove woman around for a half hour. So take the article at face value. The driver's been charged with kidnapping, suggesting that the driver canceled the ride and drove his passenger around for a half an hour. Notice the charge, kidnapping. Notice the lack of additional charges. That should be the first thing you question. Am I victim blaming? Let's continue. Now, according to the actual story, a 48-year-old Uber driver from La Pine was arrested in downtown Bend on a kidnapping charge Tuesday night, accused of driving a female passenger around for close to a half hour despite being just 5 minutes from her home before eventually dropping her off. Now, this is why I asked earlier, notice the lack of additional charges. He's been charged with kidnapping, a Class C felony out there in Oregon, but he drove her around for a half hour and then dropped her off. I'm going to give you my humble opinion, and I think some veteran drivers may agree on what could have possibly happened here. But keep in mind, right now we're talking about a woman being deprived of her liberty, drove around for a half hour before finally being dropped off. Hear any red flags in that? Here is how the actual story continues. The Uber driver, identified in the app as Rocky Eugene Earl Heath, canceled the ride and instead drove her around for 25 to 30 minutes, despite her request to take her home, Miller said. That's the law enforcement. He finally dropped her off after a half hour. Now I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Who the fuck does something like that? I don't hear any sexual assault charges. I don't hear anything about brandishing a weapon or using a knife or holding someone at gunpoint. I don't hear anything else about that in this article. And there are other articles on this same topic. I haven't heard anything about a weapon, anything about sexual assault, anything about making verbal threats. None of that. This just is written as if this man kept this woman in his car, drove around for a half hour, and finally opened up the door and let her out. No suggestion that she tried to get out, jumped out, and was perhaps grabbed and yanked back in, or hit the ground and injured herself. Nothing. Just drove her around for a half hour and then took her back to the location and dropped her off. Now, I'm going to complete it with the charges, and then we're going to talk about what likely happened. I'll give you my opinion. Hopefully you don't view it as victim blaming. Nevertheless, if you do, state it in the comments. We can certainly address it there. Now, second-degree kidnapping, Class C felony. They're alleging, the district attorney, that he drove her from one place to another with intent to substantially interfere with her personal liberty. So yeah, if you can't get out of the car, interfering with your personal liberty, interfering with your personal freedoms, absolutely that's what's happening. You know what I think happened? Let's talk about it. The passenger perhaps got in an argument with the driver and refused to get out of the vehicle. We get passengers all the time that make changes and we don't want to take them to their location. Or they get in the vehicle and maybe they're drunk. Maybe they have children without a car seat or something where we tell them to get out of the car and they refuse to get out of the car. Some drivers will get very honest. Well, fuck it. I'm going to drive you somewhere else then. You don't want to get out and you can just drive with me. Cancel the trip and take off. I'm going to drive your ass to the police station if you won't get out. Whatever the case may be. The moment you start driving them with a canceled trip, it leaves you open for some bullshit like this. I'm going to tell you flat out, which is why I talked about the potential of being accused of victim blaming. This story don't make no fucking sense. It makes absolutely no sense that he wasn't charged with something else in addition to kidnapping. Nobody's going to just kidnap someone, drive him around for a half hour, and then let him out of the vehicle. There is something else there generally. They're trying to rob you. They're threatening to take you to an ATM to get money out of you. They're trying to sexually assault you. There's generally something else. Ain't nobody just going to yank you off the street or put you in a car and just hold on to you for 25 minutes and let you go. I would be very curious to hear what this individual says when it comes to defending these charges, what his attorney states. The only other avenue I could see is maybe this driver is mentally ill, perhaps, to do something crazy like that. But even the worst of criminals, nobody's going to hold you in their vehicle for 25 to 30 minutes and just drive you around. This sounds either like the passenger would not get out, they were having some kind of verbal argument back and forth, perhaps. Maybe the passenger was completely inebriated or drunk, and the driver's trying to figure out where the hell they want to go. That often happens where folks will get in your car and don't even know where they're going. I've had some passengers personally that were going to purchase narcotics or something of that nature and didn't even know what house they were actually going to buy the product from. So you pull up at the address, they don't put in the damn app, and you turn around and the passenger's hesitant to get out because they don't know if they're at the right location. There's a host of things that can happen like that. But understand as a driver, if you cancel a trip and you continue driving with that passenger in your vehicle, you leave yourself wide open to something like this. Why the hell would somebody do this? Well, on the low end of the scale, a lot of passengers know they're going to get some type of recourse from Uber or Lyft, such as a free trip. A lot of passengers will lie and say the driver was drunk, speeding, whatever the case may be, because they know Uber or Lyft are going to automatically side with the passengers. They don't give a damn about the drivers, and they're going to refund the cost of that trip to passengers. Fortunately, some of these cities and some of the apps are starting to address the fact that a lot of drivers are being wrongfully deactivated, because even Uber and Lyft knows now that a lot of their passengers are making up shit in hopes of getting a free ride from the ride-sharing companies. Now, that's on the low end. On the high end, it could be a cash grab. If you can suggest that a driver did some shit like this, you're talking settlement. Maybe a little one. It doesn't sound like he violated her sexually or physically harmed her or made any threats. There's no charges being made in any of those, under any of those claims. But even still, 25 to 30 minutes in court as a woman saying you were scared, you know what's going to happen, that's worth a few $1,000s. I hate to come across like this. I know some folks, you're victim blaming. She got injured or she got harmed mentally, whatever, may have PTSD. I don't know, folks. I don't know. A standalone kidnapping charge where it doesn't sound like there was anything the driver was actually trying to get out of this woman, whether it is physical gratification or finances or anything. I'm not hearing it. So I'm just going to finish the video up by simply saying I need to hear the other side of this story. I need to hear what his defense attorney states for his defense, because on its face, this doesn't make any sense. Nevertheless, I want to ask you folks in the comments, particularly my veteran drivers, have you ever had a passenger make up some shit about you? If so, what do you think the reason was for why they made up something about you? You didn't want to take them to a destination they wanted to go to, so they got pissed off. Or you didn't want to stop at Walmart and let them go in there and shop while you sat outside and waited, so they made up some shit about you. It absolutely happens. Let me know in the comments, perhaps so some of the newer, more prospective drivers looking to get in the game can understand this is not always how it seems. It's your boy Tim. As always, subscribe to the channel. Feel free to smash that like button. See you in the next video.